Before we begin, make sure you're somewhere quiet. Turn off the lights. Put on your headphones. Because the stories you're about to hear aren't just scary. These are the kinds of experiences people don't talk about. If you enjoy true horror stories, unsettling encounters, and disturbing events that happen to real people, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, let's begin. People always say the dead of night is the quietest part of the day. That's not true. The dead of night is when the world is listening. I learned that on a Tuesday in late November, during one of the coldest weeks that year. My parents were out of town, my phone had terrible service, and I was alone in our house on the edge of a small wooded neighborhood. The kind of place where the streetlights stop working after midnight and the trees feel closer than the houses. I remember checking the time before everything started. 3:11 a.m. That number is burned into my memory. I hadn't been asleep long. Something pulled me out of it, not a sound exactly, more like the sudden feeling that I was being watched. My eyes opened on their own, heart already racing before I even understood why. The house was silent. No TV. No heater kicking on. No wind. Just that thick, unnatural quiet you only get when everyone else in the world seems gone. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, telling myself not to be stupid. That it was just anxiety. Just another night alone. Then I heard it. A soft click. Not inside my room. Downstairs. I held my breath. Our house had an old security system that we never used. When doors opened, they made a faint clicking sound, something I'd heard hundreds of times growing up. But no one should have been opening a door at 3:11 in the morning. I stayed completely still, listening. A few seconds passed. Then came a slow, deliberate footstep. Heavy. Unhurried. Whoever it was wasn't sneaking. They were walking like they belonged there. My throat went dry. I reached for my phone, but the screen didn't light up. Dead. I could have sworn I charged it before bed, but it was completely lifeless in my hand. Another footstep. Then another. They were moving through the living room. I could hear the faint creak of the floorboards, the exact ones my dad always complained about. The sound traveled upward, closer to the staircase. That's when I realized something that made my stomach twist. The alarm never went off. If someone broke in, it would have screamed. Which meant either someone knew the code, or the door had never been locked. I slid out of bed as quietly as I could and locked my bedroom door. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the lock. I backed away, standing in the corner of my room, listening as the footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs. They stopped. Complete silence. Then a voice spoke. Not loud. Not angry. Almost curious. Hello? It was a man's voice. Calm. Too calm. Like he was calling out to someone he expected to answer. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. Seconds dragged on, stretching into something unbearable. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then the first step on the stairs creaked. Slow. Careful. Each step followed by a pause, like the person was listening for movement above. Step. Pause. Step. Pause. They were coming up. I pressed my back against the wall, staring at the door like it might vanish. I remember thinking that if the door opened, there would be nothing stopping them. No lock strong enough. No place to run. The footsteps stopped right outside my room. I could see the shadow under the door. Someone was standing there. I watched as the handle slowly turned. Once. Twice. Locked. The person didn't react. Instead, they leaned closer to the door. I could hear their breathing now, slow, steady, almost amused. Then they whispered. I know you're awake. I bit down on my hand to keep from making a sound. The whisper came again, closer this time, like their mouth was inches from the door. You always wake up around now. My blood went cold. There was no reason they should know that. I'd never spoken to anyone about my sleep schedule. Never mentioned how I always woke up between 3 and 4 for no reason. The handle turned again. Harder this time. Then stopped. I thought maybe they'd leave. I was wrong. The footsteps moved away from the door, heading down the hallway. I listened as they walked into the bathroom, then the guest room, then my parents' bedroom. Drawers opened. Closets shifted. The sound of someone exploring a home they'd been in before. After several minutes, the footsteps returned. Back to my door. But this time, they didn't try the handle. Instead, something scraped softly across the wood. Slow. Intentional. Like a fingernail being dragged downward. Then came the knocking. 3 slow knocks. Not aggressive. Almost polite. Open the door, the voice said quietly. I just want to talk. I squeezed my eyes shut. The knocking continued. Then stopped. I waited, shaking, for what felt like forever. Finally, the footsteps moved away again. Down the stairs. Through the living room. A door opened. Then closed. Silence. I didn't move until sunlight crept through my curtains hours later. When I finally worked up the courage to leave my room, the front door was unlocked. Nothing was stolen. Nothing broken. But on my bedroom door, just below the handle, were fresh scratch marks. 5 of them. Deep enough that the wood was splintered. And taped to the doorframe was a small piece of paper. It had only one sentence written on it. The dead of night is when you're easiest to visit. My parents sold the house less than a year later. I never told them everything. But to this day, I never sleep without a locked door. And I never stay awake past 3 a.m. Because whatever came into that house knew exactly when I'd be awake. I used to think the phrase dead of night was just a figure of speech. Now I know it's literal. Because there's a point every night when the world stops responding to you. And if you're awake when that happens, you're not supposed to be. This happened during my second year of college, when I was renting a basement apartment under an old couple's house. It was cheap, isolated, and quiet, the kind of place you convince yourself is fine because you don't have other options. The rules were simple. Don't use the upstairs door. Don't bother the owners after midnight. And don't go outside late at night because the neighborhood gets strange. I laughed at that last one. I stopped laughing on the night my phone stopped working at 3:40 a.m. I'd been up studying, half asleep, when the power flickered. Just once. Not enough to shut things off, but enough to make the lights dim. I checked the time. 3:39 a.m. A minute later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. That was strange. My phone barely got service down there. The message was short. Don't answer if you hear it. Before I could reply, the screen froze. Then went black. I shook it, tapped the button, nothing. At the exact moment my phone died, something knocked on the basement door. Not loud. Not urgent. Just one slow knock. I stared at the door. Nobody ever knocked down there. The landlords used the upstairs entrance and deliveries never came that late. Another knock. Same rhythm. Same pressure. I didn't answer. That's when I heard footsteps outside. Not on the stairs. On the gravel path that led around the house. Slow footsteps. Dragging slightly, like whoever was walking didn't lift their feet all the way. They stopped right outside my small basement window. The curtain shifted. Something blocked the moonlight. A silhouette leaned down, peering inside. I couldn't see a face. Just a head-shaped shadow, perfectly still. My chest tightened. "Hello," a voice said. It sounded wrong. Not distorted. Not inhuman. Just empty. Like someone repeating a word they'd learned phonetically. I didn't answer. The voice tried again. "Are you awake?" The knocking returned, this time from the window itself. Tap. 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 3 times. Then the voice whispered, softer now. Everyone else stopped answering. That's when I realized something terrifying. The house above me was completely silent. No footsteps. No pipes. No TV. The old couple always woke up early. I usually heard movement by 5 a.m. at the latest. But right then? Nothing. I grabbed my laptop and tried to connect to Wi-Fi. No signal. Tried to turn on the radio. Static. Pure static. I checked the time again. 3:40 a.m. The footsteps circled the house. Slow. Patient. Then they stopped at the basement door again. The handle turned. Unlocked. I froze. I was sure I'd locked it. The door didn't open. Instead, something pressed against it from the other side. Hard. Like a shoulder. The door bowed slightly inward. The voice spoke again, closer now. "You're the only one still answering inside." I whispered, "Go away." The pressure disappeared instantly. Silence returned. Then came screaming. From upstairs. Not loud, muffled, distant, but unmistakable. It cut off abruptly. Like someone had unplugged it. I ran to the stairs that led up to the main floor and tried the door. Locked. Wouldn't budge. I pounded on it, shouting for the couple. No response. The house felt wrong, like it was hollow. Like no one was really there anymore. Then my phone buzzed back to life. One notification. Unknown number. It's too late now. Don't answer again. The basement lights went out. Complete darkness. From above me, I heard footsteps again. But these were different. More than one set. They moved slowly across the ceiling. Back and forth. Searching. Then, one by one, the footsteps stopped. All at once. Right above my head. Something knocked from the ceiling. 3 times. The voice returned. Now layered. Like several people speaking through one mouth. "Why did you answer?" "I don't remember running. I don't remember unlocking the door. I only remember the freezing night air hitting my face as I stumbled outside, sprinting down the road without looking back. I slept in my car until morning. When I returned with the police, the house was empty. No owners. No furniture. No signs anyone had lived there in years. The neighbors said the couple passed away a decade earlier. Heart attack. Both of them. Same night. Around 3:40 a.m. I moved out that day. My phone still glitches sometimes at night. Always at the same time. And whenever it does, I make sure not to answer. Because after 3:40, nothing that answers you is human. There's a point in the night where time stops behaving normally. Clocks still move. Phones still tick forward. But something else takes over. I found out about it during the worst week of my life, when I was completely alone, exhausted, and awake when I shouldn't have been. This happened 3 years ago, during a heatwave that made sleep impossible. I was living alone in a small 1-bedroom apartment on the edge of town, the kind of place built cheap and fast, with thin walls and flickering lights. The first thing you should know is this. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't high. And I wasn't dreaming. I was awake for every second of what happened. It started with the silence. At exactly 3:17 a.m., everything stopped making noise. No traffic. No wind. No distant hum of electricity. Even my refrigerator went quiet. I noticed because I dropped my phone and the sound felt wrong. Like it was swallowed before it finished echoing. I checked the time. 3:17 a.m. I remember thinking, that's strange, then brushing it off. 5 minutes later, my smoke detector chirped. Not the alarm. Just a single chirp. The low battery warning. I sighed and stood up to grab a chair. That's when I realized something terrifying. The chirp didn't echo. Sound didn't travel anymore. I clapped my hands. Nothing. Not silence, absence. Like the air itself refused to carry noise. Panic crawled up my spine. I tried shouting. My mouth moved. My throat strained. But no sound came out. I slapped my face hard. I felt it. But I didn't hear it. Then I noticed the hallway light was on. I never leave it on. I stepped closer, heart pounding, when the light flickered and revealed something at the end of the hall. A figure. Standing perfectly still. Too tall for my ceiling. Its head was tilted, almost pressed into the drywall. No features. Just a dark shape that bent where a face should be. I backed away slowly. The figure didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't blink. Then the hallway light turned off. My apartment plunged into darkness. And sound came rushing back all at once. The refrigerator hummed violently. Pipes rattled. My ears rang like they'd been underwater. I screamed. This time, I heard it. I turned every light on and checked the apartment. Nothing. No one. I barely slept after that. But the worst part? I checked the time. 3:42 a.m. I thought it was over. It wasn't. The next night, I stayed awake on purpose. Lights on. TV playing. Phone charged. I told myself I wouldn't let my mind wander. At 3:16 a.m., my TV froze. The image distorted, stretched faces, melting mouths. At 3:17, the silence returned. Instant. Total. My phone lit up with a notification. No vibration. No sound. Just the screen turning on. Unknown number. You're awake again. My blood went cold. I typed back. Who is this? The message sent. 3 dots appeared immediately. You shouldn't be. The hallway light flickered on by itself. The figure was closer this time. Standing just outside my bedroom. Its arms were too long. Hands hanging low, fingers nearly touching the floor. Its head twitched, sharp, mechanical movements, like it was adjusting to being seen. My phone buzzed again. Don't move. It can hear intention. I froze. The figure leaned forward. And for the first time, I heard it breathe. Wet. Slow. Deliberate. Each breath sounded like it was being pulled through a narrow opening. The thing lifted one finger and pressed it against the wall. The drywall dented inward. Then cracked. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But something in my body understood the truth before my brain did. Movement was how it chose. The lights shut off. The figure disappeared. Sound slammed back into the room. I collapsed to my knees, gasping. I checked the time. 3:43 a.m. I didn't sleep again. On the third night, I broke. I packed a bag and left before midnight. I drove aimlessly, exhausted, pulling into a gas station around 2:50 a.m. The clerk looked pale. Shaking. I asked if he was okay. He whispered, "You hear it too, don't you?" Before I could answer, every light in the station shut off. Cars died. Phones went dark. Silence fell like a blanket. I looked at the time on my dashboard. 3:17 a.m. Every shadow in the station stretched unnaturally long. The clerk started crying. From behind the bathroom door, something knocked. Once. Twice. 3 times. A voice whispered through the door. Still awake. The clerk ran. I ran with him. I didn't stop until sunrise. I don't stay awake past 3 anymore. I don't care where I am. Because once you notice the night noticing you, it doesn't forget. And sometimes, when I wake up suddenly at exactly 3:17 a.m., I swear my bedroom feels taller. Like something is standing just out of sight, waiting for the night to finish choosing.